Hello, everyone. This is Jorge from Apprise. I am just getting on the line a little bit earlier before the webinar starts to let you know that this webinar will feature hands-on activities that are meant to help you get a good grasp of the tool that we're presenting, the Grantee Search Portal. So in order to streamline your experience with these hands-on activities, it would be best if you can keep two tabs open in your browser that you can quickly switch to during the presentation. One is the LIHEAP clearinghouse, and the other one is the Grantee Search Portal itself. The links are on the screen. You can also download the slides in the handout and then actually click on the links in the slides. And I'm also going to type the links in the chat box, so you can also find them there. Thank you. The webinar will start once the clock hits 3 o'clock.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kate Thomas, and I am a program specialist for the Energy Program Operations Branch of the Office of Community Services, Division of Energy Assistance. On behalf of the Office of Community Services, I would like to welcome you all to our webinar today on LIHEAP Performance Management and the Grantee Search Portal. Today's webinar has two main purposes. First, the webinar will tell you about the new Grantee Search Portal tool, which was developed by the Performance Management Implementation Workgroup. Second, the webinar will show you how the tool works and how you can use it to find information you need. The presenters will show you the tool's functionality, and there will be a few hands-on exercises that you can complete to experience the Grantee Search Portal and to practice using the tool. The audience for this webinar is all state grantee staff and LIHEAP stakeholders that want to find systematic information about the operation of other LIHEAP programs. This includes coordinators, program staff, and office staff, and advocates or researchers. The new Grantee Search tool was designed and developed by your peers, members of the LIHEAP Performance Management Implementation Workgroup, or we call it also the PMIWG. The PMIWG is a collaborative group of state LIHEAP coordinators that work with OCS and our contractor, Apprise, to create performance management resources for grantees. The PMIWG includes a project team called the Performance Management Integration Team. This team's focus is creating and improving resources that program managers can use to incorporate performance management into your program management and evaluation. The integration team consists of Andrew Bright from New York State, Heather Jones from Missouri, Jane Blank from Wisconsin, Lisa Gobin from Oregon, Iris Curtis from OCS, and me.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Kate. Today's webinar is going to be split into a few pieces. We're going to spend most of the time reviewing and demonstrating features of the LIHEAP Grantee Search Portal. We will leave time for questions and answers. And for those of you who want to follow along using slides, you can see those in the handout section of your GoToWebinar sidebar. You can download them directly from there. If you have questions, you're encouraged to ask them as we go along by typing them in the GoToWebinar question box. Once you submit your questions, they'll be reviewed and responded to either during or at the end of the webinar. And if we don't have time, you will get a direct email from Apprise. For those of you who may be not familiar with the GoToWebinar interface, you'll notice that the sidebar is this rectangle on the left-hand side of your screen. And it will, we've highlighted the area where you can type in questions. If you can't see this, this box anywhere on your screen, you may see an orange arrow instead, and you can pop that button and it will give you the sidebar that you need. So today, the main content of the webinar is going to move in kind of 3 stages. We're going to have Erin from the clearinghouse talk about how they obtain information from your LIHEAP state plans, and then how they turn that information into LIHEAP clearinghouse tables. And then she'll lead a hands-on activity so that you can all become more familiar with the clearinghouse site. I'm going to talk about an introduction to the Grantee Search Portal. We'll talk about why it was developed and how it builds on the clearinghouse work, talk about how you navigate through it, and then once again, we'll have another activity for you to become more familiar with the tool. And then Lisa Gobin and Andrew Breik will talk about kind of the really exceptional part of this tool, which is being able to use filters to really hone in on the information that you want. And so they'll talk about how to use those filters, and then they'll walk you through a activity where you get to kind of do it on your own. And then finally, Jane Blank will end the webinar by talking about coming attractions and answering questions. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Erin from the clearinghouse.
All right. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Erin Stoyer, and I'm the project director for the LIHEAP Clearinghouse and also the National Energy Assistance Referral Projects at the National Center for Appropriate Technology, or NCAT. We've operated these projects since 1988, so predating all of this fabulous technology that we have at our fingertips today to grab this information. And we are a national nonprofit headquartered in Butte, Montana, and we work on a diverse group of federal, state, and local projects related to both energy and agriculture. So we've been excited to work on a prize with this project and other sort of web-based projects that we've done with them over the years. The clearinghouse is an information repository for state, tribal, and territory grantees, but it also serves as a central hub for LIHEAP information that is used by sub-grantees, other industry professionals like utilities, policymakers, institutions of higher education, charitable organizations, and also for state and local governments who have similar programming. So on this slide here, I'd just like to say welcome to the LIHEAP Clearinghouse homepage. Across the top of the screen here, you'll see a direct link to our site. I recommend bookmarking this page because I'm sure you'll want to come back and browse through the extensive resources we have available here, including program information and guidance documents, the Energy Assistance Search Tool that allows users to locate LIHEAP and other energy assistance resources, publications, ratepayer information, and disconnection information. So I would like to let you know that this is a public-facing website accessed by a diverse group of users who look at this information for various reasons. Some come to the site looking for energy assistance programs and help with their utility bills. Some are industry professionals who come looking for publications and information. And then certainly all of the grantees have access to this site to look through our program data and information that we collect and update on a regular basis. It's a public-facing website, and we have about 20 to 40,000 users each month. And with the start of the COVID-19 pandemic in March, that number of users has increased by over 50%. So we've seen quite a jump in people who are interested in looking for information about both LIHEAP and energy assistance. So in response to that, we created a COVID-specific page on the site, which is on the next, there it is. This houses current news items, guidance documents, and funding information. It's been updated in real time as things are announced. So this is sort of where we've taken all of the LIHEAP response and news surrounding COVID and tried to put it in one easy to access location. So you'll see the direct link there. But what's likely the most useful to you in the management and delivery of your programs is the information we collect and make available from all of your annual plans. So each fall, once plans are approved by OCS, our staff of 3 scrapes the info from OLDC, which essentially just means that we download all of the PDF versions of your plans and supplemental documentation. We do this process for all states, tribes, and territories. And so once we've collected all of those plans and documents, we enter that information into an internal database where we can compile all of it into one space. So each section of your annual plan has a dedicated space in our database so that we can pull that information when you call and request it. We collect all the most commonly requested program information, so things like eligibility, the percentages of funding allocated to heating, cooling, crisis, and weatherization, listing of all the Assurance 16 activities you put in your plans, state median income, federal poverty guidelines, and so on. So we collect all of that each fall after you've submitted it, and generally have all the state information updated and available on the clearinghouse site by November. And then the tribes tend to come closer to the end of the year. But essentially all of that is accessible by January of the following year after you've submitted that in September. Since we have all of that into our database, we format it into HTML that we can make available on the website. In many cases, this information can be exported as an Excel file or a PDF so that you can just pull that and download it and have it available without having to access the site. So our tables can be found throughout the website. They're typically embedded in the section for the relevant program with the narrative and all the background information. But what we know is that grantees often know what information they're looking for, but they're not necessarily looking for all of that background and introductory narrative that goes along with it. So in these cases, we recommend, you'll see there on the screen where the red arrow is pointing, to use our Google-generated search bar at the top of the site. So by using this search bar, you can type in the name of the table that you're looking for and get right to it. So you could search in things like funding allocation, or for the purposes of this example, I would like you to go to the tab you have open with the clearinghouse site and search for program components. So I'll give you all a minute to get to the clearinghouse site and type program components into the search bar.
Hi, this is Jorge from Apprise. Real quick, I just wanted to let everyone know that I have retyped the link to the LIHEAP Clearinghouse website on the chat box. So you can click on there directly if you don't already have that tab open in your browser.
All right, I'll give you one more minute to see if you can get to the program components table. Okay. Were you able to successfully find the table using the search bar at the top of the clearinghouse site? Please respond to the poll on your screen there. All right. You know, I'm not exactly sure where to see the results of the poll. Can you see those, Jorge?
Yeah, I'm going to bring them up. It's just there's still people that are submitting their responses.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give another 10 seconds for people to enter their final responses if you haven't done that already. Okay.
All right. Looks like most people got it. Some people got to something, and then there were a few that didn't quite get to the table. So for those of you who might be newer, or just by sheer choice of the search terms that you might be using in the future, I'm just going to show you briefly how to get to this program component table using a different navigation style. So we've got the sidebar navigation on the side of the site, where you'll see state, tribal, news, and publications. Those are all drop-down menus. So first, select state from the sidebar on the right, and it will bring you down to a drop-down. So each of these sections is where I was talking about, where you can find the background, narrative, and introductory information on a given topic. So in most cases, we have our tables embedded within these sections because it makes sense to users to be able to access that information as they're learning about that program feature. So from the drop-down list, select Delivery, which is another drop-down. From there, you'll see an option to select Components. This link will take you directly to the Program Components page, where you'll find several tables for all of those LIHEAP components. So if you were navigating through the website trying to learn about program components, you might end up at the table this way. Or if you're more seasoned and you know you've seen it before on the site and you don't want to navigate through, you just want to get to the table, you can use the search box at the top of the site. And you'll see tribal program components actually is the first option, and then the second option is program components geared at states. So it takes you to the same spot. All right. I hope that walking you through the clearinghouse briefly and just reminding you of the things that you can find there and the people who use the site every month was helpful. I will say that you can always call or email us here at the Clearinghouse too. We're happy to pull information for you, walk you through navigation of the website, or help you do research of your program questions. You'll see all of our contact information here on this slide. And as many of you on the call can attest to, we try to get information back within a day, depending on the complexity of the question. So even if you're in crunch time mode, feel free to reach out to us and we will happily walk you through pulling any of this information. Right now, because we're working remotely, I will say that email is probably the quickest way to reach us, but we can also be reached at the phone number there on the screen. So I want to thank you so much for your time, and I'm going to pass the mic back over to Melissa to share more about how the work we do at the clearinghouse is going to set a foundation for this fantastic new tool called the Grantee Search Portal. So with that, thank you. And Melissa, you're up.
Thanks so much. I can't underscore enough what Erin talked about. For those of you who I've been lucky enough to visit, you know that during the course of our visit, I'm usually on the clearinghouse site at least several times with you, or when I, in between our days visiting, I'm looking up information, and even sometimes we'll get on email and email Erin or Marisa directly to ask questions. They are not exaggerating when they say please call us. Part of their job is to help you find information, even if that means gleaning it and calling other directors to get it for you. So please take advantage of this resource. They're terrific people and they do a great job. So I can't underscore this resource enough. But right now I'm going to talk about the Grantee Search Portal, which expands on their great work by making it a little bit easier for all of you to find and hone in on the information that you need to make decisions about your program. And so if you want to go to the next slide. The Grantee Search Portal was designed by the implementation work group, as Kate said. These are your peers. And it was designed to help people systematically select data from the clearinghouse tables. So there are a lot of tables out there, a lot of information, as you saw. This helps you kind of hone in on what you want and find the details. One of the early names of this was the States Like Me tool, or the States Not Like Me tool, because we really wanted, the grantees on the work group really wanted a way to not just look at different ideas, but to be able to say, no, I only want to see these for states that are similar to me in this way. Or so, for example, I only want to look at cooling states. If I'm in the Southwest, I want to see how they're doing business and if it's similar to me. Or I want to see people whose main fuel is oil. So I don't want to go look in the Northwest where it's electric. I want to focus on other people who use or work primarily with heating oil. And so this was an idea to be able to, once again, filter results from the clearinghouse in a way that lets you see people like you or not like you. And then finding other state grantees that share similar desired outcomes or goals. All of you, I imagine most of you, have been to a training or a meeting where someone stands up and talks about this cool thing that they're doing and you didn't even know you could do that. Or they talk about this goal that they have and you say, wait, we're trying to do that too. How are they doing things differently than us? And so once again, this is designed to help you kind of say, look, I have the same goal as they do. So what are they doing differently than I am? Or maybe what are we doing the same? And this would let you find that. So one of my favorite stories, I don't know if Kanisha Floyd's on the phone, so I'm going to pick on her, from Tennessee. She shared a story at one of our work group meetings that when she was getting started, she would go to the clearinghouse and she would look up information, say on program components like you all just did, or Assurance 16, and she would get a list of all the states and what they do, and then she would use a highlighter to go through and pick the states that she was either most interested in looking at or that shared common characteristics. And so this tool is a fancy highlighter, maybe you could say. It's a way for people to more systematically sift through all of the different things that everyone is doing and find something that resonates with them. And so what this allows you to do is not just display the clearinghouse tables, but display data from multiple tables side by side in the same place. It also lets you display data from clearinghouse tables and from other sources side by side on the same table. So you'll see in a moment, for example, that you can go look at other states' benefit matrices, which the information comes from the clearinghouse, but you can look at that side by side with their performance measure outcomes, their targeting and their burden reduction indices, and see how the two lend themselves to one another. And that information is from the performance management website. And so this tool lets you pull that information from multiple places and put it side by side. It lets you just display clearinghouse tables, but it lets you take out the states, so you don't have to use a highlighter, that you don't really have an interest in. So for example, people in New Mexico may not be as interested in Arizona or Alaska's heating program as they would be, say, in Nevada's cooling program. And so this lets you really kind of hone in on what you want to find. And then finally, it lets you download the results that can be edited in Excel. So if you want to further limit or sort the information based on your own kind of preferences, you can do that in Excel. So the Grantee Search Portal is currently available. It's important that we point out that it's designed for use by all of you as grantees and everyone who has a kind of a direct stake or role in delivering and administering the program, but it is accessible to the general public. And so Jorge, if you want to go to the next page. I think it's important then, Jane pointed out, if it's accessible to the general public, it's important that you all know where the data is coming from and how accurate it is. As Erin mentioned, it primarily contains data from the LIHEAP clearinghouse, but it also pulls information from the ACF website as well as the performance management website. Some cases, the most recent data available for these sources are not current year data. So either it's only collected every once in a while, or it's a year behind, for example, in the case of performance management indexes. Not all data is from the same program year. So for example, you may pull a benefit matrix that comes from the LIHEAP clearinghouse that's based on the current state model plan, but when you go to pull benefit targeting or burden reduction indices to put side by side with it, you need to keep in mind that those are always a year back. For more information, and we'll point this out in a few minutes, we have a notes section in the tool that you can click on that actually gives you the source documentation for each of the tables that you can choose from in the Grantee Search Portal. So one of the features of this tool is we've taken a lot of feedback over the things that have been developed in the past few years. Instead of plopping everything on one page, you'll notice as we walk through this that it actually walks you through one step at a time. On the first page, when you get here, you're going to see some really basic instructions, obviously. The first block of the search tool, which is this kind of gray section, and then notes on the data. And this is where I mentioned before that it explains where the data comes from, and there is a detailed list if you want to go check it out. So I said that the tool walks you through step by step. This is the first screen that you're going to come into. It's performing a search. So this is where you're going to decide what it is exactly you want to see. Now, one of the things you'll notice is that we have picked a pretty good selection of items here, but if there are things that you feel like, gosh, I'd really like to see this as part of the tool, or I came just to see this and it was not there, we really want to hear from you. This is a work in progress, and so it's important that we hear from you to point things out. So you would click what you want here, and you can actually click multiple things, and then you're going to click to the next screen, and that's going to take you to your filter. And we're going to actually walk you through the filter later, but just as an overview, you can see that you can pick things by particular state or by your region. You can pick things by income eligibility, funding level. We get a lot of people that say, look, I get it that New York's awesome, but they have 18 times as much funding as I do. I really want to look at a state that has similar funding levels to me. And so this limits the results of your search to the factors that you choose here in this filter box. And then when you click next, it's going to take you to your search results. And this is where when we walk through the demonstration, you're going to see that you can get really long tables if you're not careful, but these are all printable, or as you can see, you can download them directly to Excel, or you can print them as is and read them at your leisure. Before we walk on, I want to highlight something because I know I'll forget. I'm going to get really excited about this and then I'll forget. Some of you may go into this tool and see information that is inaccurate. It's really important that if you do that, you give a prize, and we'll provide numbers at the end of the call, a prize or the clearinghouse, reach out to them so that they can update the information as needed. And we'll help walk you through that, but we're pulling in the information that we have, and if it's inaccurate, it's important that we get it fixed. So we're going to start with a single item automated search, which sounds complicated, but it's really not. So we go to the next screen. On the first screen of the tool, users can select which item they want to display. So once again, most of this is pulled from the clearinghouse. The contact information, performance measures are pulled from the performance measures website and the ACF website. So you'll choose which item you want to display. And so if we go to the next screen, we're going to demonstrate this. So we get this question a lot. What are some potential outreach practices? I want to know what other states are doing in this area. And so Jorge is going to go to the tool here. So this is where it's at. I'm going to perform a search, and I want to know once again about outreach. So I'm going to look through these different categories, and I see under program administration that there is an outreach practices box. And so I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to click next. Now at this point, I want to see it for all states. I don't have any preference. I want to know what everyone is doing. And so I'm just going to ignore this filter screen for now, and I'm going to click next. And it's going to bring me to this table. There's something I want you all to notice. So I asked Jorge this morning, I said, so when I do this, can I assume I'm going to see all states, or will there be states missing? And Jorge said, there are all states listed here. However, the detail associated in each state varies dramatically. Some of you really like to write novels in your state plan, and so those people will be obvious in the screen. Some of you like to put in a little less detail, and so you won't see quite as much information for that particular state. One of the cool things about this is that if you go back to the search, and you don't have to do this, Jorge, but if you go back to the search area and you click contact information, you can actually get contact information for each grantee. And if someone hasn't been very detailed, but something that they've said interests you, you can go in and quickly find their information and give them a call and say, hey, I noticed you did this. Can you give me some more detail? So we're going to have you do this. Can you go to the next? Oh, I forgot that we wanted to do this. So we wanted to kind of make sure you can all see that you can download this it says download as CSV. Those of you who aren't tech savvy, that's an Excel workbook, and it will contain your table. And then you can save the workbook right into your computer, and you can modify it and cut out the states you're not interested in, or highlight, if you're Kenesha, the ones that you are. So we're going to have you do a hands-on activity, just super exciting. We're going to have you do the same thing I just did, but we want you to choose one, just one of the following topics: a definition of crisis, benefit matrix, and description of the cooling program. And we want you to use the search tool, hopefully you have that open, and find a table about the topic that you choose. Jorge will put the link in the chat box again if you need to click it. Remember that you're not filtering at this point. So when you get to that second screen where it offers you a bunch of ways to filter the information, just click next and skip it. We're just pulling information for all of the states.
Hi, everyone. So this is Jorge. The link to the Grantee Search Portal is now in the chat box. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to open the Grantee Search Portal, look at it, find the topic that you chose, and get the report. And then we'll come back and see how you did. Okay?
Okay, Jorge, let's go on to the poll. Hopefully those of you who did this had not an issue with it, but let's take a quick poll. So were you able to successfully obtain a table for any one of those topics? Yes, you got it. No, I didn't get it. I got something, but I don't know if it's right. We'll give you a few seconds to answer that. Jorge, you can just let us know when you think people are done.
Yeah, there's still some people selecting the response, so I'll let you know. Let's give everyone 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, I got it. Looks like most of you at 87%. No, I didn't get it. 8%. I got something, but I don't know if it's right. So 6 for those 14% of you. We are going to do another exercise. So maybe the next time around, it'll be something that you find a little bit easier. But if not, as Erin mentioned, we're here to help, and you should give us a call, and we're happy to help you navigate this. So Jorge is interested, not Jorge, everyone is interested in which topic you picked. So depending on which you picked, if you could select one, definition of crisis, benefit matrix, or description of cooling program. I'm sure some of you chose more than that, so pick the one that you're most interested in. That would be helpful.
Okay, I'm going to give 15 seconds for all of those who are still making their selection.
I'll bet, you want to make a wager, I'll bet it's going to be benefit matrix will be the most. I was wrong. So definition of crisis is something you're all interested in, benefit matrix, and description of cooling programs. So Jorge and I are going to actually just show you really quick. Let's do the definition of crisis. I think that's a good one to do. If I want to find information for all states about their definitions of crisis, I'm going to go and look at this eligibility section where it says crisis definition. I'm going to click that box. I'm going to hit next. Once again, I want it for all states, so I'm not interested at this point in filtering what I see. So I'm going to click next again. And I'm now have a table of definitions for crisis services. And so can you go to the top, the column names? So this not only gives you the crisis definition, but the life-threatening crisis definition, which is outlined in the statute as 48 hours. So both of those things are here. Now, can you go back to the notes on the, or go down to the notes on the data section? So let's say I see this information and it doesn't look quite right, or it doesn't really describe my program very well. It would help for me to go look at where this information came from. So can you go to the detailed list of data sources, and we'll go look up crisis definition here. So if I look where Jorge's highlighting, I see it's a crisis definition is the LIHEAP clearinghouse tables, and that information comes directly from the LIHEAP model plan question 4.2. So for those of you who see this and you're like, oh, I'd really want to tell people more about my program, you know which area to focus on your model plan next year. If you have questions or you think that maybe the data's gotten mixed up, because sometimes that happens, please go ahead and give us a call. So one of the reasons this is so important, and I want to just emphasize this before I wrap up, is that this particular committee on the work group, when you hear the word performance management for LIHEAP, a lot of our minds jump right to those measures, the burden reduction and the benefit targeting indices and prevention and restoration. And that is really important. Those show us really consistent statistics over time that will help us shape our programs and make good decisions. But this group also recognized that just as important are the processes and the day-to-day management of your program and how you are actually taking information and using it and making daily and periodic decisions about how you're going to tweak your program or enhance it, or maybe even keep it the same when something is working. And so this tool is really meant to help you all, as we say all the time, don't reinvent the wheel. If you need to swagger jack information from other people, this is a great way to do it. Go out there, find out what others are doing, confirm that what you're doing is similar or maybe dissimilar to what others are doing, and really there are a bunch of geniuses out there, all of you, so it makes sense to learn from one another and to adopt the things that are working for yourself. So you can also, as we mentioned, pull multiple items so that you're not staring at 18 different printouts of 18 different tables, you can actually pull multiple items to print or put in an Excel table. And so one of the examples we have here is people may want to look at a weatherization program description. Say you don't have one yet, or you have a small one and you're looking at expanding. It may be helpful to go look at what other states are doing, both a description of their program as well as how much of their funding they're actually obligating to weatherization. So when you see this really cool idea out there, but you find out, oh, but they're only obligating 1%, it may change the way that you consider that idea versus someone who obligates a full 15%. They may run things very differently. So it gives you a lot of context. One of the challenges, I think, is going to be on the next slide, is that well, I'll stay with the pros for a second. Field combinations can provide output that's very useful and provide context. So as I mentioned, these are usually related: weatherization program description and the percentage of funds obligated to weatherization, the benefit matrix, and the heating assistance criteria. So for example, if you're interested in, well, what exactly are they looking at to determine benefits, having heating assistance criteria next to that is really useful information. And then the benefit targeting index and the burden reduction targeting index side by side. We know some of you do really great in one and not so great in the other, and so it's useful to see what other states look like you and what they're doing, or what states have figured it out and how they're doing things differently. But it's really important to understand that just like any table or data source, it's kind of garbage in, garbage out. If you just go in and click a bunch of stuff, you may end up with this ginormous table that isn't really any use. It kind of defeats the purpose of this tool. So it's important to think meaningfully about relationships between the things that you're choosing before you go in and produce a table that's 400 pages long. So we're going to stop and pause for questions at this point.
Hello, everyone. This is Jorge. So if you have any questions about what we've covered so far, whether they're questions for Melissa about the Grantee Search Portal or questions for Erin about the LIHEAP clearinghouse, please type them in the question box, and I'll read them to them so that they can answer them. So one of the questions that we got is, can you search for more than 2 or 3 items in a table at the same time?
Yes, you can. However, as we mentioned, at some point the table becomes really long and not necessarily useful. So I think what we're recommending at this point is that you choose things that lend each other context. So for example, benefit matrix and benefit targeting indices, or benefit matrix and heating assistance criteria, and then run a separate table for other kind of topics that you want to look at. So keeping things related will make sure that your tables don't get that unwieldy. But you could, Jorge, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you could choose many different criteria. It will just not result in a super meaningful table.
Yes, I would agree with what you said. The other question we got, and Melissa, maybe I would be the person to answer this, but you can let me know, is how can I find the Grantee Search Portal in the Performance Management website if I don't have the link with me?
You go ahead, Jorge.
Okay, so I'll just open a new tab. For those of you who know what the address of the LIHEAP Performance management website is. You can just type it. I use it so much that it comes up whenever I type L in my browser tab. But you can also Google it. So you can Google LIHEAP performance management, or you can Google LIHEAP data warehouse, and will be in the home page. So the Grantee Search Portal is actually found in the Grantee Resources tab. This tab has many resources that many of you might find useful. So at the very bottom, the last option is the Grantee Search Portal. You can click on that, and you will it'll take you to the screen that we've been showing throughout the webinar. And Melissa, I don't think we have any questions. Any other questions?
Great. So we'll go on to Lisa Gobin from Oregon.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so Melissa guided us through a demonstration of how to conduct a search in the Grantee Search Portal. You will notice that we did skip the second screen of the tool. So now we're going to look at the second screen and demonstrate how you apply filters to limit your search results to the types of things that you are most interested in. The purpose of the second screen of the Grantee Search Portal is to let the user select program characteristics to limit or restrict the results. Selecting a filter will exclude results for states that do not meet the criteria selected. As you can see, there are multiple options to help you focus on states that have characteristics that you are interested in. For example, if you are interested in information related to cooling programs, you can use a filter to restrict your results to only those states that have a cooling program. The filtering screen is designed so you can select more than one filtering option. If more than one filter is used, only the states that satisfy both conditions will be displayed. For example, if you're interested in information for other states that are in the same region as you and who have a cooling program, you can apply a filter by selecting both of those things. Now we are going to do another demonstration on how to use filters to produce specific results. In this example, we want to look at what other states in my region do for Assurance 16. And I want to see a table that lists a description of all Assurance 16 programs, but I want it to exclude states that don't run an Assurance 16 program. So if I go to the Grantee Search Portal, I want to look at the descriptions of Assurance 16 programs. So I click on Assurance 16 program description and go to the next screen. Then on the second screen, I can select my filters. I want to look at what states in my region, I want to look at the states in my region, which is region 10. So I select region 10. I also said I want to exclude states that do not run an Assurance 16 program. So I will select runs Assurance 16, click yes. And then I will click next and I'll see the table showing only the 3 states in my region who have an Assurance 16 program. And now I'm going to turn it over to Andrew.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, we're going to do another hands-on activity. This time, we're going to research cooling programs. So we want to go into the search portal, and we want to get a table that shows descriptions of cooling programs, but filters the results according to one of the following characteristics. So if you go into the search portal, click on you want to research cooling, so you want to select your cooling. You want to go in and you want to filter states that have a cooling program, states that have a funding level more than 100 million, states in a hot, dry climate. So go out to the search portal. Hopefully you have that open. Perform your search. Click next. Make your selections. Put your filters in place. continue through next, and then your results will come up. So we're going to research cooling programs. We want a state that has a cooling program. We want to look at a state that has a program of more than 100 million in total funding, and a hot, dry climate. Arizona, Texas.
Hi, so we're going to give everyone a minute or two in case they didn't have the website open, and then we'll come back.
Thanks, sorry. I know last time I think I started singing about right now. Those nice awkward silences. Hopefully everybody was able to jump in there, put in the criteria, filter it down, and get some results. How'd you guys make out? And if you don't like your search, remember, you can always go back and do a new search. Sorry, Jorge. Go ahead.
I was just going to suggest that we move on and see how everyone did.
Yeah, let's do it. So we're going to take a survey. If you were successfully able to obtain a table. So if you would, please select, did you get it? Didn't get it? Or, yeah, kind of like me. Yeah, you got something, but you're not sure if it's right. And I'm being disconnected from my VPN. So let's see if I can get back in time.
So we still have some responses coming in. So I'm going to give 20 more seconds to everyone who might be finalizing their choice or still catching up on the activity.
That's great, because I just logged back in, Jorge. The wonders of working at home through VPN are just always exciting.
Okay, let's see the results.
Okay. So 72% of you got it, 3% didn't get it, and 26%, kind of like me, got something, but you're not sure if it's right. So once again, I'm going to echo what has been a recurring theme throughout the whole webinar. If you're one of those kind of like me who might need some remedial help, please reach out to one of us, and we'll, I'll throw everybody under the bus except for me. Reach out to my the people on this work group, and Melissa and anyone from Apprise, and we'll get you there. Okay. And so we're going to do one more. Which filters did you pick, or which filter did you pick? States that have a cooling program, states with a funding level of more than 100 million, or states in a hot, dry climate? Sorry, we didn't give you another option for, I'm not quite sure. If you can give a selection, we'll give you a couple seconds here, probably what 15 or 20 seconds. And Jorge, when you're ready.
Yes, people are still voting, so I'll let you know when I don't see any more votes trickle in.
Thank you. Okay, the filter choices were states that have a cooling program, states with a funding level of more than 100 million, states with a hot, dry climate. And the results are 32% of you selected states that have a cooling program, 38% selected states with a funding level of more than 100 million, and 29% of you selected states in a hot, dry climate. So we had a good spread there.
Yes, and I just want to add, I got some comments through the question box of people saying they selected all three, not just one, and those people actually got a big list with just one state, which is interesting because Lisa's going to talk about what happens when you select too many filters.
Perfect segue. Lisa?
Okay, so as some of you apparently just learned, filtering your search results can be incredibly helpful. However, because there's only 51 state grantees, applying too many filters may limit your results to a very small number of states or even no states as results. For example, fuel oil is not commonly used in the hot, dry climate zone. So if you're applying a filter to states where fuel oil is the most common fuel and apply another filter to only keep results for the hot, dry climate zone, your table will likely have no results because no states are going to meet that criteria. And an additional caution with filters is that you can accidentally select two contradictory criteria. And if you're seeing results with no states or results that you wouldn't expect, you probably should go back and remove the filters and then see the results for all states first. Questions?
Again, if you have any questions, please type them in the question box, and I'll let the panelists know. You can also ask questions if you have lingering questions from the previous sections. Erin and Melissa are still on the line, so you can ask questions to any of the panelists. We just have one question. Maybe another one will come in. So for any of the panelists who feel comfortable answering it, the question is, could you walk us through how to find the appropriate table for this last activity? So any of the panelists, I can also show it. Okay. So we're looking for cooling programs. So our table is going to display cooling program descriptions. So I click on cooling program descriptions that's what I want the table to display. Then I click next and I actually go on to the filters. And the first option was states that have a cooling program because I don't want to see empty information for states that don't have one. So that is found here, and I'm highlighting that. So I would click yes to that. The other option was states with a funding level of more than 10,000. That is found in program administration funding level. So there's different options according to where you can choose filter states by program size. And the last filter that we suggested in the activity was states in the hot, dry climate zone. And that can be found in other characteristics, climate zone. You can select the different climate zones in the country So we can click on hot to dry. Currently, I have 3 filters selected, so when I click next, I'm going to see a very small list of states because there aren't going to be that many states that fulfill all 3 criteria. If I want to see a larger list of states, then I would have to deselect one of the filters. But let's just go on and see what we get when we choose all 3 filters. We get 1 state that fulfills this criteria. That's California. It's a big state, so it gets a lot of funding. And you can see over here at the top, you can verify that you search for the correct thing because you can see what content fields you selected. We selected that we wanted to see a cooling program description. And you can also see which filters were applied to this table. So we can see that has a cooling program is yes, the total program funding is more than 10 million, and that the climate zone is hot dry. We have one more question, again, for any of the panelists that feel comfortable answering it. The question is, do you update the data according to a state submitting an amendment to their state plan? And I can take that also.
Yeah, go ahead, Jorge.
The answer is, I don't know the frequency with which the clearinghouse updates the information in their website. So Aaron might be able to speak about the clearinghouse. But regarding the Grantee Search Portal itself, which takes the data from the clearinghouse, we update it once a year once the clearinghouse has updated their website with the initial state plans that you all submitted. So if you submit an amendment to your model plan midway through the year, it will likely not be reflected in the Grantee Search Portal.
Hi, this is Erin. I just thought I'd share about the clearinghouse. Once we're alerted to an amendment to your plan and it's been approved by OCS, we do update that information on the clearinghouse site. So we do that throughout the year as needed.
Thanks, Erin. So there's no more questions. So I'm gonna pass it on to Jane.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jorge, Lisa, Andrew, Melissa, Aaron, everyone. This is a really exciting time. We put a lot of work into this tool, so it's exciting to be able to share this with all of you. I'm going to take a few moments and provide some final comments and then talk about coming attractions and some of the new things that will be provided and presented by the Performance Management Work Group. So one thing that we have actually already been working on, the Performance Management Integration Team is actually a sub-team of the Performance Management Work Group. So the work group is divided into a couple of different teams. There's actually 3 that can put some focus on specific areas. And so what this Performance Management Integration Team worked on is the tool that you're seeing today. And then something that we've also been working on that's coming along is a report reference document. For any of you who maybe attended the winter NIHEAP meeting, you probably got a little bit of a sample of what that is, but it's essentially it's a resource that we put together a list of canned reports or already pre-designed reports that you can just essentially push a button and get the results that were compiled from a list of IT systems and reports from a variety of different states and different LIHEAP programs. And so this is really just kind kind of a resource document for either a new coordinator who is just starting, with a new program. Maybe it's for someone who has been around for a while, but they're revamping their information system. Or it's maybe, boy, I do really good about reporting on my caseloads and caseload variances. I really need to focus and put a little bit more attention on some fiscal auditing or monitoring activities. So maybe that's an area that I'm weak in, and so I want to go take a look and see what might be out there. Instead of recreating a brand new wheel, you can maybe see what other resources are actually out there. The other thing that's coming is, and this is kind of the coming attractions piece, is the data case studies, which is another one of the sub-teams. Recently completed a multimedia presentation, so we're actually on YouTube. So that's kind of the coming attractions kind of cool thing. So it's a 7-minute long YouTube video that talks about the state of Missouri and how they use the performance measures data, the program data that they had available to them to create an outreach plan. The video is available via the ACF website. So the HHS, ACF website, the YouTube channel, and on the ACF website itself. So you can get there, you can either go to YouTube and do a search for ACF, or you can go actually to the ACF website, and then you should find a link there. If you download the slides for this presentation that you're seeing today, you can click on the link on the slides. So the link that you're seeing at the bottom here. So a couple of different ways that you can access that video. So pretty cool stuff. So some other webinars that are coming. Some of you maybe already received an email today about the data reliability web tool webinar that's coming up. So on Thursday, July 30th. The data reliability is another one of the subgroups, and they put together a tool that's really powerful to maybe help you to states determine the reliability of the data that's being collected. So this isn't only on the performance measures data report. So this can be any of the other reports that you collect data for to report to HHS. And so it's a tool. It's a really cool, powerful tool that'll help you to discern that the data that you're collecting is reliable and accurate. So the tool will be introduced, and then we'll also furnish an overview of how, provide a demonstration similarly as we've done today. Another webinar that's coming up then is data case studies. So another data case studies activity. And that's coming on Wednesday, August 19th. And during that webinar, they'll present and showcase the findings of different case studies that they've been working on. So there's a variety of different activities, really interesting stuff that they're working on, and it'll allow you an opportunity, or provide you with an opportunity to learn about different challenges that the LIHEAP program faces across the country. I think we're all probably experiencing similar, pandemic challenges, and just what the economic impact that is having on the households that we serve. But this will actually take it into, a different area as well, and how they use the data that's available to them, and that's accessible on the Performance Measures website to kind of address and help them to establish some resolutions for those challenges that they're facing. And then on Wednesday, September 23rd, we have another webinar planned, and that's for the performance management website. So some of us have been around for quite a few years with the inception, really, of the performance management website, and it's really evolved over time. And there have been some recent upgrades, actually, to the website. There's a few others that are coming. So on that day, I encourage all of you to attend. It's a really powerful, there's so much information. It's like the clearinghouse too. There's so much information out there that can help you, instead of you having to run a report for your governor's office or for a reporter. There might actually already be information that's accessible to you, either via the clearinghouse, via the performance management website. So this webinar will give you an opportunity to either give you a refresher of what's available out there, but very specifically share with you some of the enhances that have been made to that website. So here's, you've heard our names a few times today. So we are the Performance Management Integration Team. So again, it's a sub-team, subgroup of the entire Performance Management Work Group. That's our contact information. We're happy to help however we can. And if we can't help or aren't available, go to slide 49 there, Jorge. Here's the Apprise team. So they're they're available. They also, I should mention too, that not only do they focus on supporting the performance management work group, which they do tremendous support, provides tremendous support, but they also provide technical assistance to LIHEAP state grantees. So Melissa mentioned that earlier, site visits that, she mentioned, and going out and perhaps we're not doing site visits right now because of COVID, but that doesn't mean that we still can't provide technical assistance. So that can be done virtually as well, through phone calls, videos. So please feel free to reach out to them as well. They're very quick to respond and very helpful. Some of you may have received your performance data reports. So if you have any questions on those, feel free to reach out to them. Or if you're not quite sure, you're jazzed about your performance matrix, or you just maybe through some of the information that you've looked at on the performance measurement website, you want to learn a little bit more about what the state is doing, or maybe just maybe some more general question. I just want to make some changes. They're a really great resource. Of course, your federal liaison, so Kate's was on the call today with us. That's also another great resource to go to. And I think that with that, yeah, thanks, Jorge, for going to slide 50 in the questions. So you had an opportunity to ask some very pointed questions after Lisa and Andrew provided you with some demonstrations of the Grantee Search tool. So now's another time to ask any questions either specific about that or anything else that we've covered, maybe the clearinghouse, any questions that, or anything that Melissa covered.
Hi, we have 2 questions, so I will just read them out and any of the panelists can jump in and answer. So the first one is, can you go back to how to obtain these slides? I cannot open the ones on here.
Yeah, Jorge, is that a question really more about the software and the go-to and how to get the handout, I think? Can you show that?
Yeah, so I guess this person and maybe others have downloaded the slides and for some reason they won't open. If you are having that problem, please email anyone from the Apprise team, and we will get you the slides. You can email me, and we can send out the slides. Then the other question is, can the data here, and this refers to the tool, so can the data be used to determine the percentage of the state's population that is in the federal income poverty level?
Jorge, I don't know if and you can maybe take this, but I don't know if it's the Grantee Search tool that would provide you with that information, but that information is accessible on the data warehouse via the Performance Management website. Is it available though in the Grantee Search tool?
Yeah, that's right, Jane. Actually, I would, if this is something, if this information, the percentage or the number of people at a certain poverty level in your state, if that's something that you are interested in, I would look for it in the LIHEAP data warehouse. But also, I would also reach out to the Apprise team. We can point you in the right direction and tell you whether, the specific data item you're looking for, if you can find it in the data warehouse or where else you might be able to find it. So again, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. Okay, it doesn't seem like we have any other questions.
Okay, all right, thanks, Jorge. Well, thanks everyone for joining the webinar today. I hope you're about as excited about this as we are. I think it's really going to be a great resource for folks. And if we didn't answer your question, or you didn't get a chance to ask it, or after you've absorb some of this information that we've tossed at you, or you've gone out and played out on the performance management website, and you have questions that come up subsequently, please, feel free to, as Jorge said, email Jorge or Melissa, and they'll get back to you with their feedback. So thanks again. We didn't have anything pop in, right, Jorge?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks everyone. You have a great afternoon.